Britain's most vicious criminal.
You try and grab me and I'll break your jaw.
They gave him 23 years, and he gave them hell.
John, you still want to get out?
John Roger McVicker. Inside.
Chairman number. You know my name.
Outside. Nothing could stop the man they were all out to get. McVicker. At a cinema near you now and from Sunday.
Once nuts were just nuts until the light dawned with Britain's #1 nut. Now there's another KP epic, the KP dry roasted peanut, seductively spicy and very different. It's the greatest bite since Cleopatra's asp, the most tantalizing nibble since Delilah, more racy than Ben-Hur, an avalanche of experience. KP dry roasted peanuts, because the nut must go on.
Super Deal 80 brings you amazing price reductions like these, direct from BL. At your BL dealer now. Super Deal 80 must end soon, but hurry. You are not alone.
Have you found them?
Yes, sir.
I only want the best on my newspaper.
Oh, they're the best. Adam Raphael, political writer. Because of his investigation, 2 parliamentary select committees have been set up. Clive James, he won the Television Critic of the Year award, sharp as a razor.
Sport?
Oh, another award winner, Hugh McIlvanney, Sports Writer of the Year 4 times, and the photographers won prizes too.
Who's this? White House?
Oh, no, sir. That's Catherine Whitehorn. She writes books, etc. One clever lady.
Good work. When do we hire them?
Problem, sir. You see, they all write for The Observer. I tried everything. They just won't move.
Then we'll have to buy the newspaper.
I already did.
The Observer. You can't buy a better Sunday newspaper.
When it's 1, 2, 3, it's got to be 1, 2, 3.
Make sure you stay with us after the news for highlights of today's top soccer in The Big Match. Now from the South Bank to ITN, where we'll be joining Martin Lewis.
Two major IRA arms hauls in 24 hours. Britain's second biggest union backs Mr. Callaghan in battle with Labour left. Britain on top at Windsor as the opposition tumbles away. And a not-so-grisly end as Hercules the Bear comes back with a swing. Good evening. Tonight's good news is that Hercules, the TV bear who succumbed to the call of the wild, has come back home. A tranquilizer dart ended Hercules' 3-week holiday in the Outer Hebrides as he frolicked on the banks of a loch. Jon Snow joined the dawn search.
When Hercules' owner said he wanted to catch the beast in a fishnet dropped from a helicopter, people thought he was mad. The arrival of the machine and a willing vet armed with a dart gun did nothing to dampen the doubts. And when, for 3 hours, the helicopter crisscrossed the bare-coloured island without a glimpse of Hercules, some gave up. But then, amazingly, the pilot spotted him down on the edge of a loch. Hercules dived in on seeing him and swam across. And that's where the vet got him. And suddenly, Hercules wasn't a bear on the run. He was a bundle, a heap, hanging from a helicopter. No bear has ever travelled this way before. If Hercules could survive it, he would become quite some bear. Once you knock any bear out, you must bring him round again with another jab within half an hour. As they dragged him to his mobile home where this must happen, Hercules made his first gesture, raising a reluctant paw as if to comment on his return to captivity. But back where Hercules had fallen walked the real hero of the day, the vet, Eddie Orville. He'd never knocked a bear out from a helicopter before and had felled Hercules with his second dart. Around the bear's bus swarmed the children of the island to see the animal that had trapped them in their classroom when he'd first been sighted yesterday. And himself, a little dopey still, 15 stone lighter, But the signs are that Hercules will be back, larger than life, selling, was it tissue paper? Jon Snow, ITN, on the Outer Hebrides.
Police in the Irish Republic have seized a second arms cache near the border with Northern Ireland. Like the first haul, it was on a farm near Carrickmacross, about 4 miles from the border. The second haul included about 10,000 rounds of ammunition and guns. Irish police say they were being stockpiled for a rocket attack on a British Army base about 5 miles north of the border in County Armagh. The Irish police say these are an important breakthrough in their campaign. Michael Oliver reports.
Both farms were typical of the bandit border area from which so many attacks in the past have been made into Ulster, only to be afforded a safe return. Now the greater surveillance from the Irish side of the border is paying off, and that return is becoming more hazardous. Found at the first farm were mortars, rockets, launchers, general ammunition and explosives buried in milk churns hidden in underground tunnels behind a false wall. Since the days when they could be described as a seriously threatening guerrilla force, the IRA more than anything needs safe storage places at their disposal and a good system of weapons and explosive supply. The fact that the recent discoveries have come largely from tip-offs suggests that neither of those essentials is enjoying the same safety it did before.
Leaders of one of Britain's most powerful unions have thrown their weight behind Mr Callaghan in his fight against the left wing at the Labour Party conference. The engineering section of the AUEW, which has the second largest bloc vote at the conference, decided to oppose any changes in the election for the party leadership. The union's president, Mr Terry Duffy, said they'd also vote against any changes in how the party manifesto is drawn up and will oppose mandatory reselection of MPs. 20,000 Territorial Army reservists are on their way to Germany this weekend to help test NATO's alertness in time of war. With the 10,000 regular troops who've already gone, it's the biggest British military mobilization since the war.
At the port of Dover, Territorial Army volunteers lined up with the holidaymakers to get to the continent. In the event of a war threatening in Europe, the Channel ferries would be vital for getting reinforcements to Germany. 1,000 men and 500 vehicles are passing through Dover this weekend. And at home, 10,000 more soldiers were mobilized on home defense exercises. These were pretending a bomb had just been dropped on Colchester Barracks. The attack simulated a gruesome modern weapon which scatters delayed action bomblets all over a target area. Men from the Royal Irish Rangers based in Wiltshire had been brought to East Anglia to practice their home defence role. They were unaware of what incidents they'd have to face. The casualties were made up to be alarmingly realistic. Incidents like this will be practiced on military land all over eastern England during the coming week. Geoffrey Archer, ITN, with Exercise Crusader 80.
The ruling military council in Turkey has arrested more than 100 politicians and closed down 3 newspapers after yesterday's coup. The former Prime Minister, Mr Demirel, and the main opposition leader, Mr Ecevit, are being held at a remote military base at Gilibolu, formerly Gallipoli, on the Dardanelles Straits.
On the surface, life is back to normal in Turkey today, but tanks stand at road junctions here in Istanbul, as well as in major cities throughout the country. Soldiers armed with automatic rifles mingled with Saturday shoppers on the streets, empty each night with a curfew. Over 100 people have been pulled in for questioning and almost as quickly released in the last 24 hours as, in the middle of one of the calmest coups ever, the military authorities step up their battle to root out the terrorists. They're also looking for the extreme right-wing leader, Alpaslan Turkesh, who was apparently tipped off about the coup and has disappeared, avoiding arrest. Tonight he's thought to be in Germany. The sectarian killings in the meantime have stopped, but so they did the last time the military intervened just 2 years ago. The question is, how long will it be for this time? Paul Tilsley, ITN, Turkey.
Nottingham Forest manager Brian Clough made a dramatic half-time appeal today to fans to help solve the murder of soccer fan Craig French. Craig was killed as he left last week's game at Middlesbrough. Today, a personal message from Mr Clough was flashed onto the Forest scoreboard, urging that the scum responsible be turned over to the police. And now, with a roundup of today's sport, here's our sports correspondent, Tony Francis. And Ipswich are learning from last season's mistakes. They had a good middle and a terrific end to the season, but a shocking start, which probably cost them the championship. Today, they won 2-1 at Crystal Palace to take a 2-point lead at the top of the table. Their neighbours Norwich did them a favour by inflicting the first defeat on Southampton. But don't write off the North. The Yugoslav Jovanovic hit 2 goals in Manchester United's 5-0 thrashing of Leicester. 2 more by David Fairclough helped Liverpool to a 4-0 win over West Brom. And Ian Wallace's winner for Forest puts them in 4th spot. The cup holders West Ham haven't set the second division alight yet, but I saw definite signs of that happening in their 3-0 home win over Shrewsbury this afternoon. The last thing you do against West Ham is score their goals for them, but Shrewsbury in white were feeling generous. King, the fullback, must have wanted the ground to open up. Shrewsbury weren't brimming with ideas, but one young man caught my eye, Paul Petts. Tended to hide a little, but he's fast, confident, and actually thinks about what he's doing. No question about the master today, Trevor Brooking. He did everything but score, and so nearly managed that as well. Lovely stuff, but it was getting late and there'd been no more goals. So when in doubt, give it to Brooking. Had a touch of the Jimmy Greaves from Paul Goddard, and 2-0 it is. Brooking was behind every move, and at last his colleagues began to respond. A couple of minutes later, it was 3-0. David Cross bagged the best of the match and took the congratulations. But we all know who it is who keeps West Ham ticking. Leeds are expected to appoint their distinguished old boy Alan Clark manager by Monday. And some strange happenings on the field today. One referee was knocked out at Swansea, while at Colchester another ref, Howard Taylor, finished up booking a policeman who was so upset by the players swearing he ran onto the field to admonish them. He's being reported to the FA. I wonder what they'll do. One late result today, Division 4 Torquay 2, Bradford City 0. With 1 day to go in the World Carriage Driving Championships, Britain, including Prince Philip, lead with the favourites Hungary right behind them in 2nd place. Ian Edwards reports from Windsor on the ups and downs of today's marathon section.
Driving 4 horses in a carriage turns out to have many parallels with driving a horseless carriage. There's the hit-and-run driver. There are those who won't wear seat belts. And some passengers, like this lady, always seem to miss the bus. And there are others who've lost control completely. Even the best drivers like Sandor Philip of Hungary get into difficulty no matter how skillful they are, but somehow manage to soldier on. Britain's number 1, George Bowman, has obviously passed the advanced driving test. His great rival, Georgi Bardos, the top Hungarian driver, is a little more active with the whip, but with the same result. And Prince Philip, who's more frequently a passenger than a driver, prefers the cool approach. Ian Edwards, ITN Sport, Windsor Great Park.
Racing, and Joe Mercer has won the last classic of the season, the St Leger, riding light cavalry. He beat the favourite, Watermill, ridden by Willie Carson, into 2nd place. Before the start, there was an upset for the French jockey, Freddie Head, on Lancastrian. Freddie was left horseless and sore, but he eventually managed to recapture his mount and start the race. Wally Gilbert, the commentator.
A quarter of a mile from home. Light Cavalry still has the advantage from Watermill, who is now under the strongest of pressures from Willie Carson. So as they come now down towards the distance, it's Light Cavalry and Joe Mercer from Willie Carson and Watermill is not going to catch Light Cavalry. World leader is 3rd, Lancastrian is 4th. But racing now well inside the final half furlong. It's an upset here. Watermill, the favourite, has got well and truly turned over. Light Cavalry is going to make all the running to win the St Leger. He does. Light Cavalry the winner. Watermill the favourite, only 2nd. World leader 3rd. Close for 4th between Saviour.
The final result, first Light Cavalry 3-1, second Watermill 11-8, 7 round. Finally, thousands of people lined the banks of the Thames in London today to see a spectacular, if belated, firework display in honour of the Queen Mother's 80th birthday. And we certainly won't pass up the opportunity to go out with a bang. Good night.